Companions, in my previous story about my expedition into the southeast of Angola, I introduced you to Manjolo, who was going to be my guide. Now, the two of us set off to the border post at Kalai, and there we had our passports stamped, as Manjolo had suggested, on both sides. And then we returned to Namibia, and we traveled eastwards along the good tar road. Although we were technically now in Angola. At a place called Mukuso, some 150 kilometers east, we turned off onto a little track that winded between villages, because Manjolo wanted to deliver the bag of salt that he had bought in Rundu, and I loaded for him, to his home, which is just across the river in Angola. And here he is sitting off across the river in the ferry, which is a dugout canoe called a Mohoro. While he was away, I filled the water containers from the river, and I chatted to the Namibian police there. And they told me, no, we can't cross at Mukuso because there are no customs officials here, and it's only for locals that sign a book as they move backwards and forwards. So when Manjolo came back, he quite proudly told me he'd done his best, but he couldn't actually get us to cross there, and we'd have to carry on eastwards. I just smiled, and we retraced our route 15 kilometers or so along this winding track to the main road, and we carried on east. Now Manjolo's idea was that we should try and cross the border at a place that he called Babwata. There was no place on the map called Babwata, although there was a Babwata game reserve indicated. But I knew about the road that turned off the main road and headed north, and crossed the border and headed further north into Angola to a place called Jamba, which is a major Angolan village and happened to be the headquarters of Jonas Savimbi during the war years. Now, I was highly pleased with this idea, because this was exactly my original plans, which I had done from the map, and I'd hoped that I could cross at that point. So we took this turn off and turned out about 15 kilometers or so of track, and we got to the Angolan border, the Namibian side, and this is what it looked like. And this is the middle world, of course, and things work in certain ways in the middle world, so one has to accept that. And the next illustration of that is the border gate, and this is the border gate through which we passed into Angola, and some 2 or 3 kilometers further we got to the Angolan side of the border, and this is the Angolan facility. And there were 2 officials there. They were quite happy to give us a vehicle permit and let us through, but none of them could write. So I had to fill in the vehicle permit, and I'm not sure they understood what they stamped for, but they did. They also chatted to Manjolo in the meantime in Portuguese, and they told him that no, if we want to go to a place with many, many wild animals, then we must go further east to a place called Biko. Now, Biko is not shown on any map as a place or even an area, but they, of course, knew about it. So we retraced our route back to the main road and carried on east. And some way before we got to where the Conde River crosses the Privy, we turned east again into the bush on a little track. And we got to the Angolan border. And there was a military camp there, and the military personnel were quite happy to let us cross, given our passports were stamped. But they said it's too late, we couldn't do it that day, we had to come back the next day. So now I said to Manjolo, right, let's go back and let's turn off the track and make a camp in the bush like we always do. And now we made our camp and we had just set it when a group of people approached us through the bush. Now some of them were in uniform, others in civilian clothes, but all were heavily armed with automatic rifles. And they told us, no, we are trespassing in a national park, and they are arresting us. There was an officer among them, a lieutenant colonel, who was extremely aggressive and racist. And he asked whether I had a firearm with me, and now struck me like a ton of bricks. 3 days before I left on my journey, I went to deliver a load of hay. And I took the pistol along because I had to pass through a bad area. And I put it under the seat. And with the engine packing up, which I told you about in a previous story, I completely forgot about it. Now, I was concerned that if I didn't say anything and they searched the vehicle, they might find it, and then I might be in even more serious trouble. But they then decided, no, they're going to arrest us. And they escorted us to the police station, and there they made us pay a fine for being in a game reserve, which was very difficult to know that we were in a game reserve, because there were no gates, no official entry. There was a dilapidated structure at one point, and you didn't even slow down to pass through. It was on the main road. No officers, no indication of a headquarters or a place where you had to report. But anyway, they had the guns, and so I got put into a cell on that Thursday afternoon. And there I was, sitting in my cell. I'll take the story forward the next time. I hope you enjoyed this, and best of luck until we chat again.